We have a loaded Philadelphia Eagles now coming your way on this Friday, March 7th. I'm Chase Sr. Hope everybody out there is getting set to have a fantastic weekend. And here's everything that we're talking about here today. We have a wild Myles Garrett trade update. Should the Eagles trade for one of the top pass rushers in the game in Trey Hendrickson if the price is too fat for Garrett, or if he ends up not getting dealt by Cleveland? And Darius reached out to me on Twitter. I'm going to explain what he said and some of the thoughts that I have about what he's had to say this week, which has all of Eagles Twitter fired up for the most part. We begin with the latest on Myles Garrett. And let me just go through what has transpired over the last few weeks inside the last month. So he requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns on the Monday of Super Bowl week. Everybody was focusing in on the Philadelphia Eagles trying to get their revenge against the Kansas City Chiefs. And on Monday, we're at Super Bowl Radio Row, and the news comes down that Garrett is requesting a trade from Cleveland. And a big reason for that, he's frustrated with how things have gone up to this point in his career with the Browns. 2 winning seasons as a franchise since they took him number 1 in 2017 out of Texas A&M. So he's getting to a point where he's on a Hall of Fame track. He's had a tremendous career, but he's only been a part of 2 winning teams, 1 playoff win, and with him still being in his prime, not slowing down anytime soon, being a once-in-a-generation type of player, he naturally wants to play for a Super Bowl contender. Here's the issue that Cleveland has. He is one of the greatest players in franchise history. He's under contract for 2 more years at $25 million per season. General Manager Andrew Berry, who used to work under Howie Roseman, said, "We're not trading Garrett." And he said that multiple times. And he's remained steadfast that the Browns are not moving off of one of the most dominant players in the NFL. But then Garrett also flexed his muscles. He requested the trade and said, "I've loved my time in Cleveland, but it's time for me to go to a winning organization." And then recently he said, "I will not sign an extension with Cleveland." So you have a little bit of an arms race and a battle between Garrett, his representation, and of course the Cleveland Browns. And then this morning I wake up to this. This is nuts. Myles Garrett recently requested a meeting with owner Jimmy Haslam, who declined to speak with Garrett after his trade request. So both sides here are dug in. Cleveland refuses to even discuss a trade, while Garrett is preparing to miss games if he's not traded. Over time, and this has been the case for quite a while, Jimmy Haslam has been one of the worst owners in the sport. And that's why the Browns, year in and year out, are a dumpster fire. But can you imagine if Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie ever did this? His star player requests a trade, and then he wants to talk things over with the owner of the football team. And the owner says, "Nah, I'm good. Not going to talk to you." Jeffrey Lurie is a collaborative guy. He's very aggressive with his team building strategy, but he also takes care of his players and he cares about his players. That Saquon Barkley contract extension earlier this week wasn't a Howie Roseman move. They signed a running back who led the NFL in touches, who's in his late 20s, who has an injury history, to the largest, most richest contract in the history of the NFL for a running back. That's Jeffrey Lurie saying, "Saquon, you changed our team. You helped us get over the hump. You helped us take down the Kansas City Chiefs. You had one of the best running back seasons in the history of the NFL. We're going to compensate you for that." And if a star player were to request a trade and then say, "Jeff, can we talk things over?" Jeffrey Lurie is going to meet up with that player. Jimmy Haslam, he's saying, I'm not going to do that. But this is why bad organizations stay bad. And this is why a team like Philadelphia, since the turn of the century, has been one of the most successful organizations in the sport, making it to 8 NFC championship games since 2001 and making it to Super Bowls in 2004, 2017, 2022, and 2024, and winning 2 rings since 2017. From a team-building standpoint, too, for Cleveland, holding on to Garrett does not make any sense. They have an opportunity to rebuild their organization and do it quickly. They restructure the contract of Deshaun Watson. I'd be surprised if he ever plays for the Browns again. It's going to go down as one of the worst trades in the history of sports. I never thought it would be surpassed. And then Nico Harrison traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. But they restructured his deal. Watson tore his Achilles twice. And now the Browns are sitting there with the 3rd overall pick. They can draft a quarterback this year. They can trade Myles Garrett away. They can get premium picks back, multiple first-rounders, if not a first, a second, a third, something in that realm, and you can start to rebuild your team with that rookie quarterback on his rookie contract under team control and a cost-controlled asset for the next 5 years. And with those draft picks, you can get multiple starters who help you turn the ship around very quickly. Instead, Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry are being stubborn. Now, of course, this could be a play to increase the value, but teams across the NFL are going to be willing to give up multiple first-round picks for Myles Garrett. But instead, the Browns want to hold on to a 29-year-old pass rusher who obviously is going to help you win games, but he's not going to help you turn around your organization as compared to you getting multiple picks back, drafting a quarterback, hitting on those selections, and then being able to turn things around in the AFC North. And how about this report from Aditi Kinkhabwala? Used to be with the NFL Network, now with CBS Sports. She said when Myles Garrett was playing through injuries to both feet, a thigh and an Achilles this year, he told our crew how bothered he was that certain Browns teammates weren't giving better energy. He said he'd called out offensive teammates for their body language. And when I asked why, if he was so irritated he didn't just have surgery, he said, I want to win. This is my purpose until it's not. Which is to say, number one, this has been brewing between Garrett and the Browns, that it's not only about the quarterback, and two, I may not know another superstar who could so quickly pivot to another purpose. Garrett has never defined himself solely by football. In a game of chicken, this is a man who could easily go write anime or live abroad until he gets away. He's also really into music. So for Howie Roseman, it's a special player here. On the field, off the field, he wants to get out of that dumpster fire organization, and whoever wants to take a trip to Cleveland? Nobody, right? So get him out from the Cleveland Browns. It's time to save Myles Garrett and show him what a winning organization looks like and a winning team looks like. Howie, get it done. I want to know, what year did you become a Philadelphia Eagles fan? I know everybody is very deep-rooted with their Eagles fandom, and it's part of the reason why this fan base is incredible. It's also part of the reason they're so passionate, and a story like Darius Slay saying things on his podcast has absolutely taken off, and everybody has an opinion. But what year did you become an Eagles fan? For me, 1996, when I was 4 years old. Still to come, should the Eagles trade for Trey Hendrickson? And Darius Slay reached out to me. Here's what he had to say. First, our friends at Fanatics, they have all of the Eagles Super Bowl gear that you need. Shirts, hats, hoodies, jerseys, whatever you want. You've seen myself and Chip wear it all here on Eagles Now. Get it for yourself if you haven't already done so, or get more, because I might have to get some more. Chatsports.com/EaglesSB. The great thing about Eagles Super Bowl gear, it's timeless. We can wear it forever, and we can remember Super Bowl 59 as one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances in the history of the National Football League, where the Eagles were able to stop the Chiefs three-peat. We move forward here. Should the Eagles call the Cincinnati Bengals about edge rusher Trey Hendrickson? The Bengals have given him permission to seek a trade, and you had a feeling that things were heading in this direction, that he could be the odd man out in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow has been very vocal in saying, I want us to operate like the Philadelphia Eagles. I want us to go all in and spend. And as part of that, the Bengals are negotiating contract extensions with Jamar Chase. He's going to get a deal north of $30 million, most likely, if not from Cincinnati, another team, as well as T. Higgins, who the Bengals placed the franchise tag on. And if the Bengals pay Chase and pay Higgins to give Joe Burrow an elite 1-2 punch at that wide receiver spot, Trey Hendrickson, who's in the market for a massive contract extension, could be the man out in Cincinnati. Here's the thing. The trade compensation for him won't be as much as it would be for Myles Garrett. Both great players, Garrett a little bit better, but the thing is, Hendrickson will be due guaranteed money and a new deal. But the thing is, I don't think it's going to cost as much as Garrett with the contract or the trade compensation. But Trey Hendrickson has put up better sack numbers the last 2 years as compared to Garrett. Leads all players in the NFL with a combined 35 sacks the last 2 seasons, 17 and a half apiece in 2023 and in 2024. It's tremendous. And he's been very durable. Hasn't missed a game the last 2 years either. He is a year older than Myles Garrett. Hendrickson 30, Garrett 29. Both very special players. Hendrickson, 36 quarterback hits in 2024, 25 quarterback hits in 2023. For a lot of the same reasons, we've talked about a Myles Garrett trade, Howie Roseman investing in the trenches, valuing pass rushers, looking after star players. Hendrickson could be the apple of Howie Roseman's eye as well. So pick an edge rusher to trade for. I also put this poll question up on our community tab on the YouTube channel, so you can vote over there as well. MG for Myles Garrett, TH for Trey Hendrickson. We round out with this. What a week it has been on Eagles Twitter. And it all started with Darius Slay on his podcast saying, Reed Blankenship is next up as far as being the next leader of that Eagles secondary if Darius Slay doesn't come back to the Eagles after being released and he signs with another team in NFL free agency. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been the heartbeat of this Eagles secondary the 2 years that he's been with Philadelphia. And in those 2 years, he's played excellent elite football. And in both of those years, he's helped to lead the Eagles defense to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 57, Super Bowl 59. And so C.J. Gardner-Johnson, an emotional guy, took exception to what Slay had to say. And then I quote tweeted what Chauncey Gardner-Johnson said, making a separate point that like Saquon Barkley, CJ has outplayed his contract. The Eagles only gave him $10 million in guaranteed money on that 3-year deal. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I think, is worthy of a payday in which he gets some more guaranteed money, a contract extension, or a rework deal, kind of like what the Eagles did with Saquon Barkley. Now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson then quote tweeted me and said, "Stop spreading fake news. It's nothing to do with the contract." So then everybody was trying to figure out what's he talking about. And then the clips from Slay's podcast, which has already been recorded or had been recorded at that time, started to make its rounds on social media, and people kind of connected the dots. And then more clips from Darius Slay started to go viral on social media. He was asked who his elite quarterbacks in the NFL are, and he mentioned Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. He did not include Jalen Hurts on that list. Now, Darius Slay reached out to me after I had posted a couple of tweets calling him out for what he had said, saying, "What's going on here? All-time Eagle, team captain, respected, Super Bowl champ, 6-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, one of the top cornerbacks in the game in his generation, a fantastic player for Detroit and Philadelphia, yet he's having some missteps here. And he has to have some more awareness with what he's saying. And this isn't the first time that he said some questionable, head-scratching things on his podcast, which has caused Eagles fans to get irritated. So Slay reached out to me and he said, "I never said Hurts wasn't elite." And technically, he never said that Jalen Hurts wasn't elite. But when he was asked about the elite quarterbacks, he didn't include Jalen Hurts on that list. Now, he asked me to go back and rewatch it. I did. And look, I'm always malleable with my opinions, unlike some new people here at Chat Sports who never move off of them, and it's nauseating and insufferable because context matters, right? And you have to be willing to change your opinions once new information comes out. You can't operate like Skip Bayless all the time, where just because he hates LeBron, he's going to die on that hill of hating LeBron James. You might not like how he carries himself, how he's a little bit sensitive, how he approaches Stephen A. Smith for saying what's actually true about his son Bronny James, that he shouldn't be in the NBA. But you could also say that LeBron James is an all-time great player. So what I said to Slay is, look, maybe sometimes I could be better with some of the things that I say. I asked him to come on the show. Hasn't responded yet. I can also see where Slay is coming from, where when you're on a team and you're asked who the other elite quarterbacks are, it's easy and it's human nature to think about quarterbacks on other teams without mentioning the quarterback on your team. But how many times have we seen players admire and mention their teammates in these types of conversations when they're asked these types of questions? You think any of Tom Brady's teammates back in the day when asked who the elite quarterbacks are would say, oh, Tom Brady isn't one of them? They would right off the bat include Tom Brady. And so while I love Darius Slay and I think he's been a great Eagle, he's had some missteps here. And he has to have better awareness and understand that if he wants to get into the media, he's been in the podcasting space, bro, things do not get past Eagles fans. They're very smart, they're very passionate, they're very loyal, and they are quick to defend their own. And not mentioning C.J. Gardner-Johnson isn't smart. He's a veteran in this league. He's in his late 20s. Now, Slay did say before he protected his tweets, I don't agree with that move. What does it do? Screenshots live on forever. That Reed Blankenship is on the Eagles Leadership Council, for sure. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been the heart and soul of this team. And while he might be crazy, I love it because he plays that way. And that's part of what makes him very special. But you know he's going to take something to heart like that when he's been a vocal leader for this team. Remember after the Eagles were getting carved up by Baltimore, C.J. Gardner-Johnson got everybody together and said, we have to start playing to our standard. What happened after that? They damn near pitched a shutout against Lamar Jackson. Remember the speech that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson gave the Saturday night before the Super Bowl? He was so emotional. Remember what he said at the Super Bowl parade? Before I came to Philadelphia, I was messed up. I was in a bad spot. He's perfect for Philadelphia, and he's been a mainstay for this Eagles culture. And so Slay has to know that he should be mentioning a player like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He should be mentioning Jalen Hurts in that conversation of elite quarterbacks. And so those are some of the thoughts that I have, that Slay should have better awareness because other players in the locker room are probably looking around, including the ones not mentioned, CJ, Jalen, saying, how did you not mention me? These guys are cutthroat competitors. They have egos. They are alphas. They all think they're the best, and they want to be mentioned in these conversations. So Slay, the invitation is still out there. You want to come onto the show? I'd love to talk with you. You can clear the air. You can also tell us how we as the media and how fans can do a better job. We've reached 4 million people the last month. It would do some numbers, so I'd love to have you on. What is your reaction to Darius Slay's comments? Let me know. Is he to blame? Is the media to blame? The fan base to blame? Everybody? Share your thoughts with me, and thanks for watching.